A circle of friends is a ring of trust. A circle of friends. This image has stayed with me since the first time I heard that song that Lauren and his friend Alex Call wrote many, many years ago now. It set me thinking. Oh yeah, there we are. It set me thinking about songs and images and friendship, as it often does, and about how being together at times like this in a circle that we keep open here in Unitarian Universalist churches to let in new friends. We might sing, "May the circle be unbroken," but we keep the circle open. And I'm very grateful that Chris and Lauren could be with me this morning as we think about friendship. My circle of friends has included them and their older brother Peter since the 1960s, when Lauren and I met in high school. Actually, he was still in 8th grade. I was a junior, so he is the younger guy. And we started making music together. And here you can see us there on the stage of Wayland High School. I actually was in college by then. And that's my sister Bonnie on the cello on the right, and Carl Armstrong on the left. And we had a little group back then. It was the first band that we ever had. Who knew back then, when we were teenagers, that we would continue to be fast friends many decades later, with all our wandering paths and celebrating and supporting the ups and downs of life, but coming back together over the years. And I could tell you stories, and they could tell you stories about me. One memory is singing with Lauren in New York City when his first solo album came out. We were singing at the bitter end, which we called the bitter pill, because the record company didn't do any publicity, so we were kind of there, but we had fun, didn't we? Yeah, it was good. Friends support each other. And here we are many years later. One highlight was our 2007 trip to Ireland, where we sang in some small pubs. We sang Circle of Friends there too. And later, Chris was a part of my installation as the minister of the Universalist Unitarian Church down in Santa Paula, where I retired from a little over a year ago. And they played several times in Santa Paula when I started a concert series there. And that was the day after that. They did the service with me the next morning after the service. And Lauren and I are still singing, as we did last May in Mill Valley with his Deep Blue Jam Band. And there we are there. And then here in this space the very next day, but I don't have any pictures of that, for your Sanctuary series. And of course, here we are today. And you're part of our circle of friends. It can never break, it can never rust. For we are here in a circle of worship for this hour. We can be that circle of friends, that ring of trust, that protected, sacred space. Indeed, what is a house of faith like this one but a special gathering into a circle, even as we arrive out of many singular rooms, as UU liturgist Kenneth Patton once said, and I didn't know you were going to read that reading. So there's the synchronicities. I was planning to say that. We arrive, each one of us, out of our singular lives, our singular rooms, and join this circle, enlarging our voices in common speaking and singing. And you know, this circle will never be the same circle again. We arrive here together to ask and answer or try to the big questions of life, to celebrate the spirit of life, however we may understand it. And sometimes, yes, we arrive to grieve together, to share our anger at certain ways of the world together, and to learn how to be resilient together and how we might be of use. Just as is that how you say it? Aya. Thank you. It's nice to meet you, by the way. We've never met each other before. Hello. So yes, the song we just sang got me thinking about friendship and how important my own friends have been during all the ups and downs of my life. And thinking about what makes a good friend, about new friends and old friends, about how some friendships change over time, and some remain deep and connected, even if years go by without being together. I thought about all the different kinds of friends we have in our lives as children, as adults, the school friends when we were growing up. I thought about friends growing together into their elder years. I'm exploring that now. And it's something that I'm sure Lauren and Chris and I never thought about back in those days in the 60s. So yes, there's many kinds of friends. Friends that you might meet in a nursing home. Friends you sing with, friends you laugh with, friends you cry with, as in our book. Your best friend might be your spouse. What a wonderful thing that is. Friends lost and found. And these days, many of us have made friends on Zoom. How did that happen? I hope that right now some of your friends are coming to mind, and you might take a moment later today to connect with a friend that you might not have spoken to for a while. So when thinking about friendship, some songs continue to come to my mind, as it often would to a singer. I think the first song I learned about friends might have been in the Girl Scouts. I bet some of you know it. Make new friends and keep the old. Chris said he didn't know that song. They all know it. And we're going to sing it at our closing circle as a round. So review it in your mind. Well, that's pretty corny, that song, right? In a way. But it's a funny thing about some of that corny stuff. I can't tell you how many times someone has come up to me after a concert, after hearing my Golden Tones, which was an elder chorus I directed for 20 years, and we sang a lot of corny songs. That's the Greatest Generation had a number of corny songs that they loved. But it's funny, people would come up and that's the song that they loved to hear. So that song about childhood does say a lot to us. And it was a grain of truth, there's a grain of truth in it. I was telling Rachel this morning that it was written by a Welsh composer named Joseph Parry way back in the 1800s. I bet you didn't know that part. So both old friends and new friends are valuable and needed. And that ring of trust takes time to build. And I'm going to suggest that you read someday, if you ever crack open the Bible. I know this is a UU church, but the book of Ruth is a really awesome part of the Bible, and it really talks about the friendships among women. So Naomi and Ruth, and how they made it so that they got through life together. They got through children dying. They got through living as strangers in a strange land. And Bankson, who wrote the poem that I read before, she explores those relational aspects of the women's, and she also believes that that book brings a view of God which is more female and relational than the Yahweh of the time of Judges, when God was conceived of as a male warrior and judge. So take a look at that sometime and think about friendship, and friendship even in the Bible. What are friends for? Getting us through the difficult parts of life, helping us explore what we think about things. When you have a really good conversation with a friend, you hear things coming out of your own mouth just because of the relationship that tell you more about what it is you actually think. So more songs that I thought of that could have been sung today is one I grew up with my family, What a Friend We Have in Jesus. Remember that one? Yep, there's another one. The concept of Jesus as a friend. It said it's compelling to many people, and the third verse asks, if you remember it, which I'm sure you don't, it's the third verse after all, can we find a friend as faithful who will all our sorrows share? And then, of course, there's Cole Porter. It's friendship, just a perfect blendship. A good friend is all about relationship. They accept us for who we are. Friends who are there for us in all the seasons of our life. They encourage us to growth. They encourage us to relationships. So even as those relationships in the book of Ruth, which came in a patriarchal society, it's now time for us as we go through our lives in our more modern world, moving from our childhood homes and families, many of us as to places that might seem just as foreign as the strange land that Ruth and Naomi experienced. And we move on and we make those places home with the help of our friends. There is a song of Ruth within the book of Ruth. It's often sung at weddings. I sang it at many weddings. And it's been set by a number of composers. But in that case, people think it's about the husband and wife. But it's actually, the book of Ruth is about two women's friendships. So I could talk a lot more about Ruth and Naomi, but I want to sort of tie this up this morning, thinking about this place and how many of us come back here week after week. Some of you, maybe this is your first time coming in the doors today. We come together here looking for things, looking for meaning, looking for why we might be here, looking for community in friendship, or we maybe come here to meet new friends. So I wish for you friends you can lean on, or I wish for you the grace to let go of friendships which are no longer serving you. I wish for you joy in your friendships as you leave this place this morning. I wish you friendships that you can go stand on the corner with a protest sign if need be. I wish for you the gift of memory of friends and family and those friends who are long gone. I wish for you friends who bring you hope when hope is hard to find. Because indeed we are not alone, but we are called to be a circle of friends in this brief moment we are on Mother Earth. Indeed, we are here today and gone tomorrow. Blessed be.